Good morning, everybody. Hello to those of you on Zoom with us, and hello to those of you over on social media watching this on the live stream. Drop us a hashtag live if you are here. Not you guys here on Zoom. Obviously, we know you're here. We can see you. Hello, how's it going? But for those of you on social media, drop us a hashtag live if you are here with us watching. And if you're on the replay, catching this up on the replay, drop us a hashtag replay. Sorry, I've just spotlighted Caroline whilst I'm talking, and I'll spotlight myself. Good morning. How are we doing?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Very, very good indeed. I want to just briefly say that the what was it? Caroline, help me out. I've got brain fog at the moment. It's happening.
What are we doing? Are we introducing a community? Are we saying hello to everyone? Are we introducing a bad mood? Are we in a bad mood?
Take the waffle button from me.
The waffle button. I'm in a grand
sort my life
mood.
out for a moment.
I'm in a good mood. I'm in a good mood. I just keep saying
nice. Congratulations on your good mood.
Yeah, the weather's lovely. Oh my goodness. Right. So I'm gonna say that
my God, Caroline, we're like today. Is this how people feel when they're just put on the spot? Like they just don't know how to communicate. Do you reckon?
Doing a really good job. I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing.
Yes. Well, that's what we're talking about today. Let me know. Drop it in the chat, guys. If you would just put on a live call on social media and you knew that you were live streaming to YouTube, to Facebook, to Instagram, to LinkedIn, would you just be able to suddenly start talking and make sense at the same time? Put a yes in the chat if you feel like yes, and put a no in the chat if you feel like absolutely not. What about you, Caroline? Yes or no?
Yeah, definitely.
100%. We do
100%. I think so today's show is kind of based on spontaneous content creation. And that's something we do all the time, every week. And I think a lot of people think, I don't know, I think there's a perception that we've got it together. And it's not that we haven't got it together, but it's not like it's not like I'm trained, or I just can talk and think about things. And we have sometimes plan and then we can just share. But I think that the idea of doing that is terrifying for lots of people. It's the most common fear, isn't it? Public speaking. And I mean, I'm not on stage and I'm not in front of a whole audience, but public speaking is a huge fear, and people even have nightmares about it. And I want to talk about how to get over that. And we've both spoken on stages as well. And I think having a community and going live every week, that's really helped us to sharpen that knife. You're always having a go at me for footnotes, and we're always sharing feedback with each other as well. Anyway, now I'm going on a waffle ban spree.
That's all right. Yeah. So today we're talking about what do you do when you put on the spot? And do you know what? I think that being able to talk on the spot is a skill. And it's a skill because it can be learned, and it's learned through practice, but also through consciously feeding back to yourself and receiving feedback from others. I think that's really, really key. When I first started the Rebellious Business Network back in 2020, I used to script it. It was always
scripted. Did you?
Yeah, the introduction was scripted. I had this little I made myself an infographic which had a script on it of the schedule of the show episode and what was going to be said and all the things, and it was completely bloody scripted. And I did that for a little while, and then every single time I'd have presentation slides, right? And there'd be a good amount of preparation that would go into this thing. Let's be massively transparent here. Me and Caroline do not create a shitload of prep before we go live with the show every single week. Sometimes it's bullet points written down, Sometimes we just know what we want to say. And sometimes it is a bit more prepared because we're covering something a bit more complicated. But the majority of the time, it's not that way. And it's not down to it's not down to being born with a gift of being able to just talk on the spot. It's down to practice of doing this week in, week out for 4 years, at least, longer than that, actually. And then you just get used to it and just become something that you can do.
But there is something we do as well.
So,
so interestingly, I want to do that. I always end up, whenever I talk about messaging, it always becomes a bit meta, where I'm like delivering the message while explaining what we do with the message. So as a starting point, but this isn't my first step, but as a starting point, we always go, what's the problem? Like that's almost like what anchors us into like the first segment. I kind of like think about everything in segments. Like we have 3 segments. Segment 1 is the problem. So what is the problem that people struggle with, and what are they trying to overcome, that talking fast and on the spot and being able to spontaneously present? Why do people want to do that, and what's the problem that's stopping them from doing that? I think it's a lot to do with confidence. I think it's a lot to do with they don't have an audience ready. Like, so this morning we actually had we had less people on the Zoom call, and we had less people on the Facebook Live than normal. And the immediate thing is me going, oh no, like, I have that like self-doubt creep in, like, oh God, I because it was my sort of idea to have this title. I'm like, oh no, I failed, I've ruined the business, the business is going to fail, and because I've now come up with this thing and no one's showing up, and that's it, I'm going to talk to crickets. And like and even to get started, I was feeling a bit of that pressure as well. So like, I think a massive part is confidence, and also audience response. If you've got like a bit of a sparse audience, you're going to feel like that worthiness creep in. And another issue, I think, is not knowing what to say. Like, what do I talk about? And this is another thing that's really important as well, because everyone's like here watching us. We have to do this every week. Like every week, we have to find something to talk about. And we've got this sort of like bubble of like, okay, here's our general area of things that we talk about, and we kind of try and pin it on marketing and business and all the things, but we also care about the human condition, and we also care about, I don't know, health and all this stuff. So we've got to try and find ways to talk about things all the time. And some people find it intimidating just to talk about one thing once. How do I get on a call, a Zoom call, or on stage and just talk about a thing? It's so intimidating. I think because we do it week in, week out as well, that helps to take the that negative self-talk away as well. Because I mean, so many times I've gone, oh God, why did I say that? But then you've got to move on quickly. Like I don't have very much time to beat myself up about something stupid I said on the show live, which I know is going to haunt me in 10 years' time. And like all of this stuff, everyone's getting cancelled left, right, and centre. I'm like, oh, it's just waiting to happen. I don't have the time to sort of to criticize and analyze myself as to like something stupid I said, which I think also reduces that that negative voice. And the other thing is I like the structure as well. We have a structure. I'm really going off on one. I've got this. I love this topic, to be fair. And as a structure as well. People, and this is something I really spotted when I was working with clients, especially in copywriting and messaging. Everyone nails what we call the relate section. You could talk into problems and the agitations and the pain points all day long. But where does it go? Where does it lead? Where is some practical, tangible, useful things? And this is relevant to products as well. If you're promoting a product, so many people is, if you're not a trained marketer, or you're not like a trained public speaker, any kind of communication of something, people typically fall into this trap of just continuously talking about the problem, or they'll tell you their life story, which is irrelevant to the problem they're talking to. And so I'm interested if anyone in the chat, if anyone on the Zoom call can resonate with that, when you're trying to talk on your content, or you're trying to make an advert, or you're trying to make a blog, or whatever it is, and you end up either telling your life story, or you go to a conference, and the people that get on stage, they just tell you their life story, and then it ends with like a buy my product. You're like, why? You like, I don't understand what relevance that has to me. Or it just goes around in circles. Problem. Oh yeah, that, you're just digging into the problem. So for me, the structure prevents that from happening. So we've kind of, this is like me getting into the problem of what the why you can't spontaneously speak, what's preventing you from spontaneously speaking, which is lack of confidence, not knowing what to say, poor structure. I think that's what
Love
boils
to know
down.
as well what you guys think. So drop in
Yeah.
the chat if you have an idea, like if you have an idea of what you think is the critical thing standing in the way of you being able to spontaneously speak. Like, just envision this scene, okay?
Yeah.
You're at a live event, and it's a small event. There's about 100 200 people there. It's not like Glastonbury. It's a fairly small event, but it's still big enough to be quite intimidating to speak in front of that many people. And the organizer gets a phone call, and the phone call is that 2 speakers have dropped out because there is this plague going around. Someone walks up to you and says, can you fill this spot? We've got a spot that needs filling. It's in 2 hours time, right? And you're asked to fill that spot. What is, like, would you do it? And if so, great. And if you would completely and utterly freak out about it, what is it specifically that makes you freak out? In fact, is this quite healthy, isn't it? Let's bring that down to half an hour. You got half an hour. You're on stage in front of 200 people in half an hour. In half an hour, that's it. That's your time. You've got half an hour, and we're throwing you on that stage. What comes up for you? John Denny says, yes, please, I'd love to. Keep those coming in. Yeah, John Drinkwater, you don't really count. Like, he's a Toastmasters expert, Mr.
Yeah.
Drinkwater. Although you could definitely come out and give some advice on this subject for sure. One of our resident speaking experts here. Anyway, Caroline, whilst those comments come in, you do continue, please.
Well, I think that's I guess that outcome, like if someone came up to me and said that, I know exactly what I would talk about, and it kind of solves all the problems. So my I guess my argument in this is like what I see the problem of people struggling to speak like spontaneously and in content is to do with confidence, to do with the message, and to do with the structure. Like, these 3 things are really, really debilitating, and it has to start with confidence, because that negative self-talk is going to get in the way. And I think that speaks to when you have that opportunity to speak, what goes through your head. Lots of people have this voice that's like, you're going to sound stupid. You're going to say something stupid. You're going to say something wrong. Everyone's going to know that you're lying. Or what do you say? Like, you don't, you've got all these things going through your head. So that's the first thing.
Mine would have been, I don't know what to say, and everybody in the room knows more than I do. Like, how can I speak to the people in the room that know more than I do on all of my subject matters anyway?
Yeah, and that's actually fair. You've always had no, it's not lack of confidence. Like, you haven't had a lack of confidence, but you have always assumed people know way more than you. When I'm like, you know so much, you've got such a great speaking style, but that's like something that you do get a bit stressed about. Like, and I think that's a really common one, is like, who am I to speak to this room of, especially, let's take it even out of a business conference, because that is going to be intimidating, isn't it? Like, you've got all these business owners and you're going, well, what have I got to share? You've always got something to add, always some value to add. But even in a more intimate environment, like, you need to have the faith that you have some value to add, that you need to have that faith. And I think that's one, lots of people will really struggle with that. And I'm really fortunate, although, you could argue it. I think I've always had a faith in that I have a value to share. Like, I've always kind of had that naturally. Not that it was always true, but it's kind of always given me like a feeling of confidence to just talk. And some people just are born with that, but some people have to develop that. So yeah, I would say like talk, like the first issue is confidence, and the first way to solve it is like practicing positive affirmations. I don't know. How do you go with that? What's your thoughts?
You asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking
I
you.
just got completely distracted. I have to say, my daughter is harassing me, wanting me to put £5 on her account so she can get a snack. What do you reckon, guys? Should I just quietly pause the show and give her £5 so she can eat something?
Yeah.
If I
For
get
poor
three
child.
yeses, if I get 3 yeses in the chat, I'll do it.
Don't, because there will. Yeah, we've got a yes
Got
already.
one.
I'll give it. Yeah, I'll
10,
give another
yeah.
one.
But I'll give her 10. Why not?
Okay, we've only got one yes. That's fine.
All right. I'll BRB then, Caroline.
Do you need to get a snack? Poor girl. Oh my God. Right. Okay. Now she's really putting me to the test. Okay. I'm actually on my own for a minute. Okay. So who here has negative self-talk about speaking? Who doesn't feel like they have? We've got Gemma. You've got a hand up. Do you want to come forward? Do you want to take the spot of Cordelia? Well, yeah. Let's see if we can fully replace her. I am going to add spotlight. Hi, Gemma. Are you muted? Do I have to ask? I ask you to unmute. There you go. Hello, Gemma.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm fine if it's a planned talk. You know, I sing as well, so that's fine.
You're fine with it.
Audience.
What does that mean?
I need to, if it's like a presentation or something, I can do that because it's planned and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's a conversation like this because I'm with someone, that's fine. But
Mm-hmm.
if it's just asking me to pick something, or that my mind goes blank, or if it's like the example you gave, of just, we have this spot, can you take it? Even if it's something I'm an expert in, I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I would freeze.
Okay, that's really interesting. Does anyone else feel that way as well? Does that feel familiar with everyone? So like you could plan a talk, you'd be okay with that. And you've obviously come forward here, so you can have a conversation with us, and that's okay because it's conversing. I think we all converse all the time, right? So you feel, but some people don't. Some people are crazy scared to just have conversations. So there's a scale, but you've got to go and create. You've got to get on a show, create some content, add value. You're lost. You feel scared about that. Is it scared? What's the feeling?
It's just like my mind goes blank.
Your mind goes blank.
If it was just me and I on my own and I had to talk through something and I'm the perceived expert at that, I would just be, how do I fill all of this time? What on earth do I say?
Here's the question. What would you do?
I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it?
I need time to plan. I need to think things through. It doesn't need to be everything I'm going to say as a script or anything, but I need something in place.
Okay, great. Because that's what I'm going to get into as well in this. How do you get that? Because like I think it's I know as well. If someone put me on stage, I know exactly what I would talk about. I know the structure. I know the whole delivery of it. I know it very, very well. And there's a simple way to do that. And so I'm going to share my process with that. John, Mr. Lord Zoom Drinkwater, has also raised his hand. Can we bring John out? Oh, we got 4. We got 4 on the show today. I'm enjoying this. John. Hello.
I have a slight advantage because I'm a member of Toastmasters International.
Yes.
Which is a speaking organization.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things you do at Toastmasters International meetings is you have something called impromptu speaking, where one person is in charge and they will choose a random subject and then they will choose a random person. You do it that way around because then everybody's panicking because they don't know who's going to get chosen. And that person has to speak for at least a minute and no more than 2.5 minutes on that subject. And they do that every meeting. Usually about 5 or 6 people get a go each meeting. It's a great way to learn. I actually run these on a regular basis, be happy to do a rebellious version. The funny thing is, even if you're not the person speaking, you're still there in your brain thinking what you would be saying to the same subject. After a while, you will pick up from the, shall we say, the more experienced people, the tactics that are used. But there are, well, in Toastmasters, you always like the rule of three. So I've now got to think of three things that are important. So the first thing important is your beginning. You need a strong beginning, but there are plenty of phrases you can learn that will allow you to obfuscate the whole question and delay for a while. Not like politicians do, who just ignore the question, but actually to make things like, oh, that's a really good question. Or I was hoping you were going to ask me the question before because I have much more answers for it. And those 10 or 15 seconds are usually enough for you to think of where you want to go.
Okay.
Number two, you must take every single speech as a speech. Even if it's only a minute long, you must take it like a speech. You must have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Beginning, introduction to the question. Maybe suggest what you think the answer is. Maybe you say, I don't know what the answer is. Your middle, explain it. Maybe you even argue through what the answer should be. And at the end, you repeat the question and give your answer, give a summary. It doesn't matter if it's a minute long or an hour long, you need to do that. And the third thing, you worried about who you're speaking to? My trick is to ignore the whole lot of you. Sorry, but that's what I do. And I talk to my mum because I have no problem talking to my mum. Even though she's now passed, I still talk to my mum. I can talk to my mum until the cows come home because she's not a threatening person. So I've got no worries about communicating to her. I ignore the rest of you. I talk to my mum, give the answer, and it's all done.
I love that.
You need to practice. You need a beginning, a middle, and an end. And think of somebody neutral to speak to, and you won't feel threatened by one person or a million. And there we are. I've done me ending as well.
I love that. Yeah, that's like a mini version of what I was kind of saying in like a really concise way. I love that. I love that so much. It speaks to confidence, it speaks to structure, and it speaks to message to in a certain extent, because you've got to hold on to the question and have an idea of where that's going. So that's a really solid. And I also talk about the three things. So yes, there's a beginning, middle, end, but like within the middle, I like to try and explore three ideas. That's what I try and do. And so if you've got a product or if you've got service, I like to give 3 steps. Like let's say you're talking on mindset, you give 3 steps. So you've given 3 steps. You got to have a, beginning, middle, end, or you can make 3 points as well. So yeah, I think you smashed it. We can call it a day now. We're off. Thank you, John. Do you get confidence issues? I actually did notice you spoke very concisely. There was no ums. You spoke very clearly and directly. And so where does that come from? Practice, confidence, speaking to your mum?
Here's your trick. There's no reason to use them. They're filler words. You didn't have them when you were born. You've learnt them. You don't need them. What you're scared of is something called silence. You're scared of silence. You're scared that if you stop talking, somebody else is going to take over. My antidote to ums and ahs is if I feel one coming along, the stress of saying something, I just clench my fist.
Oh.
I've been doing that for 4 or 5 years now. And now I don't have to physically clench my fist. I just mentally clench my fist. But if I feel that an or an ah is coming because I'm frustrated and I want to say something, but I don't know how to say it, I just clench my fist. And just to warn you, if you do hear an or an ah in any of my speeches, they're there on purpose to make you think I don't know what I'm going to say next, when actually I do. Because sometimes people ask you questions and they would be really annoyed if you knew the answer. So what you do is say, and then you give the answer and they think you've thought it through just for them.
Wow.
I like that tip about clenching your fist.
Yeah.
Well, I do have very long nails, so it might hurt, but
oh yeah, that can be a problem.
Oh God, how do you type?
And there are other filler words.
Mm-hmm.
Caroline was using so. Cordelia was using like.
Oh gosh,
They're
I
not
hate
needed
that one.
either.
I
Ladies,
hate that
drop
one.
them.
Do you know what though? There is a fine line, and I will say this: there is a fine line between being an I'm not going to say the N word because we're live and might get cancelled, and the N word is NAZI, by the way, and that not the other N word, which is a terrible word that I would never even own in my vocabulary. I ought to just explain that. There's a fine line between being very strict on filler words and being okay to be yourself. And that is something that I really do have an issue with. When people are learning to speak on camera, they're learning to get out in front of the camera and speak to that camera and create videos and put those videos out there on social media. If we put so much pressure on people to not use filler words, not say like and all these things, it is true that they do reduce the quality of the speech because we're working harder to understand what's actually being said, to having to fight through all these filler words. However, I don't think it's so critical that that needs to be something that we're anal about from the get-go, because you just got to be yourself on camera. If you do that, you will connect. If you're perfect and polished on camera, you won't necessarily connect in the same way because you won't be being yourself. You're so focused on the image that you should be projecting that you're not being yourself, which is actually the image you should be projecting. And I think that is a priority. I really think that's a priority. Then maybe once you're comfortable and you're like, right, I'm comfortable, I'm myself on camera, I can speak into that camera as though it was my mum. Now let's start polishing and tidying up the way I speak, so that I'm myself, but I'm myself in a more concise way, or I'm myself in a more straightforward, non-fluffy way, or in a way that, you know, isn't using filler words as much.
Yeah, certainly. At the end of the day, if you don't say anything, you've not shared anything. Therefore, you should just do it, because you will get better. You lose the filler words. It's amazing how quickly people can lose filler words once they start consciously reminding themselves not to use it. Doesn't take much effort to remove them. And if you're really stuck on what to say, tell a story, describe something. Because there are many, many more words in a description or a short story than ever there is in a technical description.
I'm just having this image of me thinking to say and then breaking into like a nursery story, like, okay, God, just fill it with something that's.
But your ums are short. There's no reason.
I know. I'm not gonna fit a story in there.
No, your ums are short. You can just have the silence. I'm very well known in Toastmasters for having longer silences. If I want to silence for people to think about what I just said, I will leave it as long as I think I should leave it, and then count 3 after that. So I make it even longer, because usually your brain is working faster than the audience. So your comprehension of time is often much higher than the comprehension of time of your audience. So what you think is a reasonable gap in 2 sentences to them will be a short, and what you think is a long gap between sentences to them quite often will be normal.
I think there's what's interesting to me is like we've kind of gone into this silence direction, but what the substance of what you said before was to do with the structure, was to do with speaking to your mum, and was to do with holding the argument in your head, which seems like the very baseline. And that's a really good way to like to start as a beginner. And then you can get into, like Cordelia said, like polishing. So and this also boils down into the confidence thing I was saying. I think that when you give people more advanced strategies to remove ums, I'm going to say I haven't prioritized removing ums from my speech or like really finessing my delivery of things, which I know will benefit me. However, the priorities of the business and priorities of the show have dictated what I can focus my time on. So I'm okay with umming and likes and so's and, you know, waffling. I'm okay with that. Because I've got my baseline in place where I'm like, okay, I'm confident with this. However, I know I can advance it. Anyway, so I'm sort of losing the thread. for anyone who's listening, who's like, how do I get in front of people and talk? We go back to the basics. Have a question, have a structure, and have a person in mind that you want to speak to, that you feel confident and safe with, and then go from there. And don't worry about ums. And then for anyone here who's like, oh, I've already got this nailed, but I sound like a Wally because I'm constantly umming and ahhing and sewing and liking, then that's when you can start doing advanced stuff. So I wouldn't want anyone to watch and be like, oh God, I'm umming all over the place, and then beat themselves up and then not feel the confidence to get in front of people. It's like Cordelia said, get in front of people, connect, build relationships, show and try and showcase yourself, to give yourself the feel of who you are and who you want to portray yourself as. And then you can reflect and go, well, I'd quite like to stop umming. It's like advancement, isn't it? Like you start with the basics and go up the advanced ladder.
From my perspective, in terms of business, in terms of marketing, in terms of building an audience, in terms of being a leader, the real key thing that we all need to master is being ourselves. Being ourselves in front of camera. And actually, in the real world, when we are ourselves and we're talking to our friends, we are often using filler words or swearing, actually. And look, swearing in a Toastmaster speech, John. Oh,
I know.
But when it comes to
actually,
marketing,
it's all allowed.
is it allowed? You're allowed to do that?
Anything is allowed. I will tell you what the rule is,
Yeah.
and you should apply this to everything you say and everywhere you speak. You can say anything you damn well please, but you should be obeying the rule. That is, your speech should be suitable for your audience. It should be suitable in the way you speak. It should be suitable in the content. It should be suitable in the number of technical words you use. It's got to be suitable to your audience.
Right. Cool.
Many Toastmasters say never talk about sex, never swear, and never talk about politics. Well, the real reason for that is the audience sitting in front of you don't want to hear about sex, swear words, or politics.
That's a lie.
They want to hear about. Well, actually, some of them you can get away with.
Everyone wants to hear about that. They just don't want to admit it.
You just aim it for your audience.
John. It's all we talk about here at Rebellious.
I've done so many technical presentations. The first thing I have to do before I do a technical presentation is I have to find out how technical the people are in front of me. Because if I'm doing a presentation about, I don't know, video conferencing, to take an example of what we're doing here, and I find out that everybody on the call doesn't even know what Zoom is, it's no good me talking about Zoom features because they don't know what Zoom is. So I'd have to talk in a more generic terms. If they were all using GoToWebinar, I would use the examples in terms of GoToWebinar. So it's all about knowing your audience and delivering to the audience's level of what you want, not the level that you have in your head.
Absolutely.
But I will put an open challenge here. Why don't we have a weekly impromptu speaking session where we will choose some subjects and people can come on and they can talk for 1 to 2 minutes. If you go under 1 minute, you lose. If you go over 2.5 minutes, you lose. So it's going to be 1 to 2 minutes about a subject which will be chosen at random. Yeah, everybody can have a go.
And the Rebellious Toastmasters sessions.
Rebellious speaking. Yeah, why not?
Speaking. I love it. I actually really, really love this idea. I love this idea.
I was on the phone to John yesterday. We were having a good old chinwag. We were talking about this and saying that we needed Rebellious Toastmasters. I love Toastmasters. It's so much fun. I do love it. And it is so needed in terms of, just getting used to. That's why we have our 30-day video journey inside the Rebellious Business Network. Generally, what we're doing in online business and online marketing is just getting used to speaking in front of a camera. And here's the problem. You change the context of where you speak, it's still terrifying.
Yeah.
You can get completely comfortable and completely used to speaking on Zoom or online or on digital stages. The first big speaking gig I got was on a stage with Zoom squares all around me in lockdown.
That's
then
terrifying.
I was put on an actual stage And let me tell you, it was completely freaking different. And I was absolutely terrified, and I completely ballsed it up, in my opinion.
I will win this.
Changes.
I just speak to my mum. Sorry, the answer is I speak to my. There is a story. I will give you a very, very short version of it. The story is, at the age of 9, I joined a church choir.
Okay.
And to make sure that I always projected my voice, I used to sing to my mum. And when she wasn't there, I imagined she was at the far end of the church. And that made my brain subconsciously throw my voice across the whole audience. Actually, when I'm speaking in large groups, I put my mum virtually at the back of the room and I project my voice into those stages. So I've mentally programmed myself now to just talk to my mum.
But that isn't going to work for everyone. It's like
no, it isn't. But what you have to do is you have to think of something to focus on, so you don't get intimidated by the audience around you. And I just happen to focus on my mum.
Yeah.
You can focus on anything. It doesn't matter what you choose. You don't have to talk to my mum. You can talk to somebody else. But you want to focus on one thing that you can communicate with, and then that just takes the pressure off you. And remember, when you were a baby, I know you don't remember exactly everything, but when you were a baby, you were happy to lay there gurgling away. When you became 1 or 2 and you learned to speak, you'd speak to anybody who'd listen. You'd speak to the TV, even though it didn't talk back to you. We are only told by our parents later on, don't talk to strangers. Be quiet, mummy and daddy are speaking. You are programmed not to talk properly, and you get the fear because of social controls. There's no reason in your brain why you shouldn't go on forever and ever. But I always make sure that, Toastmasters only last 1 to 2 minutes in a short speech. So I'm going to quietly go away now.
This is good examples. I like that. And one thing I do want to pull up on is, firstly, the first time I spoke on stage was, I think, the most terrifying you could possibly have. It was in front of my whole school, which was a girls' school, because I was not competing. It was like senator elections. So I had to give like an election speech as to why I should be school senator. And it was in front of a whole school of girls. Absolutely terrifying. I did get it, which was quite good. But then I didn't do a very good job as a senator. I just think I wanted to, I think I wanted the election, and I was like, oh, I just don't want to be involved in politics. It's all dirty. But also something that's really important is that
Caroline, you don't talk about politics. Sorry.
Oh, shit. Oh, all right, someone talk about sex, and we've hit the trifecta. Oh, that tickled Gemma. I did want to bring Gemma into this as well, because Gemma, last time we spoke, you said to me that you were going to be launching your tribe funnel soon. And one of the things that is imperative in the tribe funnel is talking to people. So how is that going? Out of interest. I'm not trying to...
It's got a pin in it still at the moment.
It's got a pin in it.
Yeah. However, I am taking myself away from all my clients and everything on Monday and Tuesday. I'm going elsewhere, and I have a plan of implementation to do for 2 days.
Is the tribe funnel going to be in that, or is it something different?
Yeah.
Yes. I love that.
So yeah, and like I say, because I'll be doing lives and everything, I'll actually have like a subject plan. So, and I'll have bullet points, so that I'll be fine with. It's yeah, so that will be fine. When I know what I'm doing, I'm okay. But if it's, come on, we've got a spot, we need it filling now, you've got 2 minutes to get ready, I wouldn't know what to do.
See how well
that might be to do with me still finding my feet with how to talk to people about what I actually know about. But now with those tips of like beginning, middle, and end and things, and just have, and also your point about maybe you could have 3 points in the middle, and tips or something like that, depending on how long you've got. That's really helpful.
And also building a relationship with those people. Like, one of the things about that, what we spoke about with you was like, because you're a VA, or you have VA businesses, or you have a VA business, rather, I should say. The thing that's really supportive with is organizing people. And so I think we came up with like a call to get yourself organized, like a weekly organization catch up, and then there's like content at the end as well. You're building relationships with these people, and then the delivering a polished sort of piece of content at the end is going to become much more easy the more you understand and you connect with these people, and the more you see like, oh, this is the value they really need, this is the thing that helps. And then you get into flow state and you go like, oh, the plan goes out the window and I've just got to deliver this message. So it's like building those relationships, connecting with those people, and then having that regularity it's just gonna help so much. I wish so many more people would get out of their way and just get that in place, because then you can start to just feel yourself.
You said you wanted to talk.
Pardon? What'd she say? I missed it.
She said you wanted to talk about sex.
There you go.
Do it.
We've got it. We've got the trifecta. We hit the hat trick. And Gemma, you are responsible for the hat trick being.
You are, darling. That was completely irresponsible, and you are responsible. Well done.
Thank you.
So I think
this is the trouble when someone encourages us. I mean, it's just a bad idea, guys. Honestly, don't.
I love it. Bad influences. We need some more. We love a little bit of a bad influence, a rebellious influence. Love that. I also think it'd be so good to have that inside. Cue the plug. Rebellious Entrepreneurs Academy, like some sort of service, because people really struggle with speaking and communicating and like projecting their message. So I think something to do with something inside Rebellious Entrepreneurs Academy would be really, really valuable for that. So I love the suggestion, John, to do like a Toastmasters meeting. I've never been to one, so I don't know how it is. So yeah, that's my thought. We should implement that. And if anyone watching would like to join Rebellious Entrepreneurs Academy, let's stick a link in there just in case. This is our ecosystem and our community for the rebellious entrepreneurs out there, the rebels who want to learn marketing skills, build their business, and connect with more like-minded rebels. So, do you have a link, Cordelia, or shall I dig that out?
I will grab the link.
Grab the link. Have we got any questions? Any questions? I do want to touch on messaging just quickly, and we can zoom Gemma back into the audience, who's been a wonderful participant. Thank you so much, Gemma, and Lord Zoom, Mr. John Lord Zoom Drinkwater. That's now your new middle name. Thank you so much for joining us.
Lord Zoom any longer, are you, John? He's going to be Lord Interactive Webinar.
Lord Interactive Webinar. It's catchy, I'll give you that. Oh yes, Cordelia did she wasn't lying when she said we did speak about you last night because you guys had a chat. I don't think she actually said we spoke about you. I think she just said
I said that I spoke to John, but now you're telling me.
But then we spoke about John behind his back. And we were talking about how the concept and what you do is actually an amazing concept. Love it. It's very, very, very cool. So we'll have to dig you out on the show at some point and speak more into that. But messaging, I want to get into messaging. Lord Interactive, yeah. So messaging, I'm just going to remove spotlights. Gemma's going to zoom away. Oh, she's gone. Messaging, this is something that's really crucial, which Gemma slightly touched on with the 1, 2, 3 element, and also John's touched on as well, is that the reason I really would know, if you put me on stage in half an hour, I would always do my launchable method. It took me a while to develop it, and it took me some hashing out, but I have a clear idea of who I'm solving a problem for. That comes from experience. So I would, step one is look to your experience, and if you're a business owner and you're working with people and you're solving problems, like you justify why you're speaking to them for the problem you can solve. So for instance, I speak to coaches who have fluffy messaging, because when you're a coach, your product, your service it doesn't feel tangible. It's not a table. So you struggle to communicate the value of your service. So that's the people that I would speak to. And that, depending on the audience, it really connects to everyone. I say coaches, but everyone feels a bit fluffy with their messaging. It really is a universal problem. Like, it's so intangible, but you can kind of pin it to different demographics and say, well, you struggle with the tangibility. Then I talk through a process of detangling that. How do you make your product or service tangible, essentially? Or how do you make your message tangible? And that gets into the practicalities of it. So then I give steps. Step 1, this is, you go through the, I have 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3 process. I would go through that. And step 2, I have a copywriting structure. Relate, demonstrate, validate. And the relate, demonstrate, validate, interestingly enough, I try and use it in every talk I do. So I relate to the audience. That's my first segment. That includes the introduction. It includes like, the touching on the problem. Then I demonstrate the solution. So I talk about the solution in the relate section, and then in the demonstrate section, I'm demonstrating how you overcome that problem through like practical steps. So if it's about mindset, for example, we're going to talk about how you've got a block at the beginning and why that's having a massive impact on your life. In the demonstrate section, I'm going through the steps to remove that block. You do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. Ideally 3 steps. And you pull out those 3 steps and like kind of like hone in on each of them. It's like Gemma said, that was helpful for her to think about that middle section as 3 steps. I think that's a really great way to sort of clarify your speech. And then the final bit is validate. You say, by doing these steps, these are the outcomes you can expect. These are the outcomes I've seen. And your own story is enough of an your own personal anecdote is enough to validate. Lots of people I work with are like, well, at this stage I haven't got testimonials, I haven't got case studies. You can, if you know the value of this, your own story is enough as an example to be an anecdote. This solves the problem in so many ways, because most people just do anecdotes. The speech is a full anecdote of their life, because marketing training tells you that you need to dig into the pains, and you need to dig into the problems, and you need to really connect, and you need to really relate. And that's not making fun of Cordelia, because you do need to connect, but the way that most marketing training teaches you to connect is through telling a long life story and digging into the pains and problems. It's like you can touch on them, because the most important thing is the value you offer, which is in the demonstrate section. So it's like you touch on the pains and problems, you demonstrate, and then you tell a story. It's like that's the structure that I sort of teach or suggest, and that's what I try and do in every. That's what I would teach if I was to get on stage, and it took me some time to develop that. But as you can see, I'm very fluid with it. I'm not thinking about what I'm saying right now. It's just almost subconsciously ingrained in me. I know my message and my audience, so I spent a lot of time developing that. It's a different thing when I get on Zoom every week. I'm like, oh, this is I can't do the same stuff every single week. But I typically try and follow the structure. So we have to find our way a bit more if it's a weekly thing. But if it's a one-off thing, I've always got it. And I really recommend that everyone gives themselves that one speech that they could rinse and repeat if they're ever called on stage. That's my spiel.
Mine is tribe funnels.
Yeah.
Funnels, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about tribe funnels. And the great thing about having that signature thing is that you can also fill gaps with it as well. It's a gap filler as well as a signature speech.
I think I would love to do. I think like where we're now partnered, I would probably do tribe funnels as well for the business, because the rebellious business is the central focus is tribe funnels, and the central focus is rebellion and connection, and that is the tribe funnel. If it was like a Caroline Antonia thing, I'd do messaging, but if it was rebellious, repping rebellious, big up, I would do tribe funnels, the rebellious way. But I don't think I'd be able to do it as well as you.
Mine would be community.
Your personal one.
Yeah, it would be community.
There's always a little bit of a showstopper in Cordelia's speeches. Do you know what? I'm not gonna give it away. Every time it makes me smile. There's a joke you tell and I just love it.
Go on, what is it?
It's the cleanup network.
Oh yeah. The cleanup
every
network.
Every time. I'm always anticipating it coming. And I'm always like, oh, they're gonna love this. It's
okay,
so
well,
good.
let's explain what this is, because otherwise it'll just be non-understandable fluff that nobody gets. There is a presentation about tribe funnels that I have delivered about 50 times. And in that presentation, there is an example of one of our past clients' tribe funnels. A tribe funnel is a community a community building live funnel, essentially, where you have a live call like this that builds a community and grows your audience in the form of a community. So anyway, Jamie, one of our clients and friends, put together a tribe funnel, and his weekly live show was cleanup network trainings for the cleanup network. And his business is called Cleanup. So he ran a cleanup network and cleanup network trainings that we never an acronym for obvious reasons. And I've said that so many times on stage in front of hundreds of people. And it's the worst swear word there is, but I always gets a delayed laugh usually because people don't get it and they have to go clean up network trainings, and then they get it and then there's a laugh. But yeah, that's what Caroline's referring to.
My favourite. I love it every time because it's so naughty. It's just so naughty of you. It's like, what gall? She's like saying basically saying the Steve bomb in front of a room full of business owners. I love it every time. I'm like, oh, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. I love it. You can see I'm so excited by it. I always get really, I'm like, I'm in the crowd and I'm elbowing the person next to me. I'm like, listen to this bit. Listen, this bit's the good bit.
I want to offer all of you a practical step.
Yes.
Just by saying this. Now, I haven't really reverse engineered and analysed how my confidence has increased on video. What I can say is there's lots of practical tips out there. If you're inside the Rebellious Entrepreneur Academy, head to the bonus section where you will find a video series of speaking in front of the camera tips that I put together. They're all very short and sweet, but pretty powerful little tips there. But the easiest thing that you could do straight off the bat is commit to recording a video of yourself every day for the next 30 days and posting it somewhere really safe where you won't be mocked, you won't be laughed at, you won't have potatoes. Actually, potatoes are really hard. Tomatoes thrown at you. Digital ones or physical ones. You want potatoes? Could you imagine? Black and blue.
Get some mash. Get some mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes.
That's a friendly.
Bodger and Badger. Good old mashed potato. I've literally got the theme song in my head.
You've lost the point, haven't you? You've lost the plot.
Daily, I haven't lost the point. I've just lost it, like it's gone.
It's wedged in a pile of mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Dig it out.
Right. Rewind. If you want something that you can do that's going to make a huge difference to your confidence talking in front of the camera, so you can get to that point where you're like, okay, I'm ready to finesse this. Let's remove the ums. Just jump into the Rebellious Business Network Facebook group and you'll see pinned to the top in the featured posts, there is the instructions for the 30-day video journey. Jump on that, a 30-day video challenge. It's where we challenge you to post one video in the group every day for 30 days. One of the biggest benefits of doing that is that you are going to feel so much more confident by the end of that 30-day video challenge than you felt at the start. And this is, of course, where you're going to have to think about, okay, what am I going to talk about in that 30 days? But there are no rules. You can talk about anything. You can talk about your business. You can talk about your cats. You can talk about the fact that you're terrified of speaking in front of the camera. You can talk about your reason for doing this. You can talk about your goals. You could do a verbal vision board and explain to us what's on it. You could talk about bloody anything. Doesn't matter. The purpose of it is getting confident in front of that camera. How do you know when you're confident? You can speak, you can have banter with it. You can speak to that camera as though it's a friend, and you can banter with the camera as though it was an actual person. And you just feel confident doing that. It's a feeling, and you will just get there. You won't even realize you've arrived at that point. You'll just look back one day and go, oh yeah, God, I used to be so scared of this. I'm really not anymore. Like, it's really not scary at all. I think that would be a really, really good thing for you to do. There is a secondary reason why that video journey is a really good thing to jump in and do. And that is that you're going to start becoming naturally a pillar of the community in the Rebellious Business Network if you show up regularly. People will just start to know who you are. in that community and in that group. You'll start to get a bit of a name for yourself there, which is really good for business, of course. And if you don't want to, or you're not ready to build your own community, and even if you are building your own community, it's a very good idea to start positioning yourself as a pillar of someone else's community. Getting in front of other groups is really powerful for your growth, because the more people you know, the larger you grow. I just made that up, but that's nice, isn't it? The more people you know, the larger you grow. It's so true. Connections is everything. Everything. Every opportunity that I've had over the last few years in business is in direct relation to a connection I've had. You can't do any of this on
all
your own.
the best feelings as well are related to connections. Like, we're so lucky. We're so lucky. So lucky. I just kept to say again, we're so lucky. I love that our business is built around connection. Love it. Love it. That's it. That's all I need to say. It's just the best thing ever. And lots of people's businesses are built around connection, but we like double down on that.
And to think I started my first ever business to just have a passive income and sit on a beach somewhere. I was so short-sighted at what I could create.
Same. I remember that as well. Like, for me, I started a business because I wanted a passive income. I mean, you know, that is nice. Not gonna lie, it is pretty nice. But now my idea with that passive income was like, once I've got the passive income, I just won't work. Now I love working. It's great. I love working. Amazing. Anyway, so not just is it's great because you connections are valuable in terms of like moolah. They're just great because you just have a great life. Anyway.
Yeah, I think we're preaching to the converted. But
I think we are preaching to the converted. Everyone drop in the chat on Facebook, #connection.
Yeah, let's have a #connection.
Yeah.
On Facebook.
And we are going to sort something out with Lord Interaction. I quite like Lord Zoom. I think, you know what? It doesn't matter. I like Lord Zoom. It's cool. It's rememberable. No, that's the wrong word. Memorable. It's so memorable. It's rememberable. Yeah, so I'm going to keep calling you Lord Zoom. It's done now. That's it. But we know that you do more than just post Zooms. So
by the way, I just want to give a shout out to Mark Lyons, because he's watching over on the live stream, and he's let us know that he's got to pop off to answer the phone, and he's also let us know that he's back. So just because I know you're back, Mr. Lyons, sending you all the love all the way over in New Zealand, middle of the night. What are you doing? Get to bed, get some sleep. But yeah, just want to send you some respect, because you are a legend, and one of the original rebels. Just want to give you a shout out. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap on the Rebellious Business Show for this week, and we will be back next Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. UK time. In the meantime, come hang out with us in the Rebellious Business Network. Get started on that video journey. It would be great to have you in there, and great to see you start creating videos, because it means we get to know you and get to know your business and get to know what you do even better. And it also means that you are going to get more confident in front of the camera and also make some friends, which is the best thing that you can do. Making friends is where it's at.
Make friends with us. Yeah.
Come make friends with us. We'll see you in the Rebellious Business Network Facebook group. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.